بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Good evening, SQC members and fans. Thank you very much for attending this technical session or this webinar. And thank you very much for our speaker, Mr. Paul Grizzell. Mr. Paul Grizzell is the president of Core Value Partners Incorporation. He's the Chief Commercial Officer, Sterling International in the USA. Mr. Powell is also one of the international experts who extend expertise, including serving as the foreign evaluation expert for the China Association for Quality, CAQ, where he has provided guidance to site visit teams. He has also assisted CAQ in aligning their work with other global performance excellence organizations. Mr. Powell also has a very long history.
ولديه نشاطات كثيرة مع
Mr. Powell he has very long experience in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Started 15 years ago as corporate member for the Saudi Quality Council. And recently, he was a member of the International Experts Evaluation Team for Saudi National Quality Strategy developed by the Saudi Standards Metrology and Quality Organization, SASO. نود حقيقة I'd like to present it in Arabic this point. أوضح للجميع أن ضيفنا الليلة السيد باول جريزل شارك وكان أحد أعضاء الفريق الذي قام بتقييم ومراجعة الاستراتيجية الوطنية للجودة التي أعدتها ساسو، وهذه حقيقة مشاركة جدا مهمة لتطوير الاستراتيجية الوطنية. Also delivered performance excellence keynote addresses in Saudi Arabia, India, China, and Thailand. I think you will find in the brochure very long expertise, including the participation of Mr. Powell amongst more than 20 years to deliver as a speaker, as also he was a co-author with Mark Blasey for Insights to Performance Excellence. I wish you enjoy this speech today. The title of this speech is Changing Competencies for Quality Professionals. How do we provide the greatest value in the future? I would like to remind you that you can drop your question in the Q&A box. At the end of this session, we will transfer these questions to our guest. Also, I would like to remind you about also at the end of the session, we will announce how can you get the certificate of attendance, because frequently we are asked this question in each session. So at the end, you will find the way how to get the certificate of attendance if you'd like to get it. Now, the floor is yours, Mr. Powell.
Assalamu alaikum. I am honored to be with the Saudi Quality Council today. Thank you very much. And I do want to let you know that you don't need to take notes on what's on the screen. I will be sharing a PDF of the presentation with the Saudi Quality Council, who will make that available to you, as well as the recording.
Thank you very much. It will be available on the website of Saudi Quality Council.
Very good. So my talk today is about the changing role of the quality professional, and I have subtitled it, Are you a guru or a go-to? In other words, are you the person who is so proud of what you do that potentially people don't want to work with you? Or as a quality professional, are people coming to you for help? Are people coming to you because they know that you're going to be able to help them accomplish what their role and responsibility is with their organization? I'm basing this on a research project that was accomplished by ASQ to understand what the changing competencies are for quality professionals. At the World Council, or World Conference on Quality in May 2017, the two primary authors of this research, Elizabeth Keim and Patricia Lalonde, presented their findings. I'm going to summarize what those findings are, which essentially said, here's what those competencies need to be. After I share what those competencies are, what the research project did not do is say, so what do we need to do to address these changing competencies? And that'll be the second part of my presentation today. This study had a strong research focus, and they, through surveys and interviews, they focused on these three questions. Number one, what are the key changes that you see in business in the next 10 years? Not just the quality profession, but what changes do you see in business in the next 10 years? The second is, what do you see as the current skills gap in the current quality professional? Now, keep in mind that this was not just interviewing quality professionals. This was interviewing CEOs and other senior leaders within organizations. The third area of research focus was, what skills do they need to meet those business needs in the next 10 to 15 years? For us as quality professionals, one thing we always pride ourselves on is learning. This is a great opportunity to self-reflect and say, so based on what my skills are now, what do I need to be thinking about as I move into the future to continue to advance within my profession or whatever I aspire to do? The partnership study was ASQ, APQC, and the International Academy of Quality partnering on this study. And as I said, focus groups and surveys. And I want to assure you that this was not just a US study. 48% of the surveys were from outside the US, from around the globe. The demographics of this were that international expert panel that included CEOs, high-level quality experts, and about 50 participants in that panel, and then about 222 participants in the surveys, and again, 48% outside North America. So it truly was an international look at the quality profession. The 9 key business changes that were identified, and I'm not going to go into great detail on each of these, but I would encourage you to be thinking about these and how it impacts what you do in your role in the quality profession. And one that I think each of us can look at and say, without a doubt, this is a big change, is that acquisition, analysis, and the use of data. I know that when I first started doing any sort of research in the beginning of my career, it was challenging. The challenge was getting enough information to make a decision. The change that has happened since the beginning of my career and now is that now it's not a challenge to find any information. The challenge is the overwhelming amount of information, and how do we sort through that information to find what is accurate, what is relevant, and what is going to be valuable in making a decision. So moving from that lack of information to that overwhelming amount and how to manage that knowledge. A lot more conversation these days about approaches for sustainable business, changing demographics and people management. The changes in how we engage our employees is so much different than it was 15, 20, 25 years ago. Every organization, I shouldn't say every organization, but many organizations are facing globalization. So the global market is out there. And I will tell you, in the United States, many companies that initially just operated in the US are competing and marketing around the world. And we're having to look much more as any organization in any country in how our products are accepted in other countries, the partnerships that we need to have to ensure effective business. I'm just going to walk through the others: the impact of IT and technology, the digitization of business and the world, the fact that I'm able to make this presentation from the United States right now and not be challenged by technology is something that we wouldn't have seen 5 or even 10 years ago. The impact of quality management system, changing expectations of what those quality management systems look at, an increased focus on social responsibility and the changing expectations of the world in working with us. Increased pace of change, things are happening faster and we have to adapt and change, adapt and respond to those changes. And the market and customer considerations are changing and at a vastly increasing rate. I know that when I order something online, it can come from halfway around the world and I expect it to be here within a week. That's something very different from not that long ago. So here's some selected what we call verbatim actual comments from the survey. The first one: swimming in a sea of data, don't know how to make sense of it. You know, quality professionals are the ones that tend to be able to take lots of information and make sense of it, a quality that we should be able to bring to the organizations we work with. Disruptors will continue to restate business. You know, when you look at the disruptions that come in and completely change a market, and new ways of delivering value. Here locally, especially during the pandemic, instead of going to a store to get my groceries, we order it online and pick it up outside the grocery store. Some of those changes are going to stay. Disruptions that happen as a result of COVID, we're going to be sorting through those and saying, which do we want to sustain and which ones are we going to let disappear? The idea of baby boomers, people my age, are like dinosaurs. We're old-fashioned, and we've got to think of new ways to develop new talent based on the requirements of younger generations. Artificial intelligence, and the last one, quality management will struggle for resources. Okay, when quality management is struggling for resources, it makes me think we're potentially not providing the value that organizations are expecting. So what do we do to be sure we're going to get those resources? If we want to be sure that we get the resources to do what we want to do in the quality world, we've got to be able to demonstrate value to the organization. And here are the skill gaps that were identified for quality professionals. I think that the one at the top left is probably the most important, and that is a lack of business acumen and leadership. The ability to look at a business and understand the value proposition of that business and to understand how my quality function, my role, is going to help that business succeed. Not just to be the person who says, I'm going to come in and do an audit, but I'm going to come in and do an audit and I'm going to ensure that it provides value to help this organization be as good as it can be. Critical thinking and analysis, that ability to take the data that you have, analyze it, and make good decisions based on that. This is, now keep in mind, these are the things that are the perceived skill gaps in quality professionals. So whether you say, no, that's not true, or yes, that is true, these are the people who are our customers, let's say, the leadership, who's saying, this is our perception of quality professionals. The ability to understand employee performance, let's even say employee engagement, and to be able to manage cultural change just for ourselves, as well as in our roles of helping an organization accomplish that. Process management and improvement tools, the right tool at the right time to help a business succeed, as opposed to just saying, we want to come in and do a value stream map. We want to come in, do a value stream map, and here's how it's going to help the business. Being able to demonstrate the value of quality. In other words, not just be the person who, again, does the audits, but the person who can articulate the value of the quality profession to that organization. Demonstrate value, as opposed to, I'll be honest, sometimes the quality professional is looked at as a hurdle because of our tendency to be the people who are giving bad news. We want to be able to, if there is bad news, find the way to help the organization out of that bad situation. So let's talk now about the future skills needed by those quality professionals. So I'm summarizing this in 3 different areas. The first is management or leadership. Developing skills in vision and strategic plan development. One thing I see in a lot of organizations around the world is frequently the quality profession may not be represented in strategic planning meetings. Of course, marketing is always there, operations is always there, HR is there, but why are we not there as the quality profession? Well, sometimes it's because we're not thinking as strategically and we're not demonstrating the value. Being able to articulate that vision development and even assist with strategy plan development is a skill that we ought to be developing within ourselves. Communication skills. And I almost hate to put the word sales on it, but we need to be able to communicate with those other functions in an organization what we can do to help them, and to be able to go to them, understand what their challenges are, what obstacles they're facing, and be able to demonstrate and articulate how we can help them through that. Having expertise, I won't even say expertise, but having familiarity with the accounting and the finance function is also a skill that's needed. One thing I see many times is that the CEO in an organization has come from the accounting or finance department. Why is that? It's because they understand how the company makes money, and they're able to lead in helping to accomplish that. We also need to understand that marketing function of how we can market ourselves, as well as to understand marketing and their close relationship with the customer to be able to assist the organization in presenting the best possible perspective to those outside customers. Another skill is that technical side. Integration and knowledge management, as you can see on the gears on the right-hand side, that ability to know how the different parts of an organization align, support each other, and how by working together, they're able to help the organization accomplish its goals and objectives. Critical thinking and analysis. And the thing I want to emphasize to you is, I am not saying that quality professionals do not have these skills. I'm saying that we need to continue to improve these skills so that we are the go-to people with things like integration, with knowledge management, We need to be the people who they look at and say, here are people who understand our entire organization. They're bringing greater value than just the typical quality function. And continuing to improve our skills in things like failure analysis, root cause, prevention action, all those tools that help evaluate risk, that address risk, those kind of things that are strategic, again, to the organization. Finally, we need to be looking at those people skills. And while many people say, well, that's the job of the HR function. No, when we're doing our quality function, so much of what the quality function requires is things like change management, employee development, coaching, culture development and adaptation. And when I say coaching, what we really want to be is the people who senior leadership is coming to say, help us work through this quality issue, help us walk through this HR issue with the skills that you have as a quality professional. My belief is that the quality professionals are the ones that have the ability to cross every boundary within the organization and help those various, what we call silos, those various functions to continue to evaluate and improve the way they do things. So my summary of these findings is that we need to be sure that we're positioning ourselves again as go-tos rather than gurus. And I'll explain that a little more in my next slide. Second, we need to get out of the quality world and understand the business that we're in. And probably the three most important questions to ask yourself and your quality group that you work with is, do we understand how this organization makes money? Secondly, what do our customers want? And how does our organization engage employees? But most of all, how do we make money? And what can we do to help this organization succeed? Now, I am not one that believes that the only function of the company is to make money. But when you're wanting to be able to demonstrate the value of the quality function, you want to understand how an organization makes money so you can help them make sure that the customers are getting what they want, that employees are engaged, and those are the drivers of that ultimate lagging measure of financial success as well as marketplace performance. So how do I, as a quality professional, help as a resource in accomplishing these things? I would encourage any of you that are leaders of quality departments to go to have meetings with your staff and talk about these things. And if you don't understand how the organization makes money, or let's say some of your new employees don't understand that, ask your finance department to come in and help you understand what I've heard referred to as financial acumen of how do we understand how we make money and help us understand how we as a quality function can help do that. So ask yourself as quality professionals, how am I helping to accomplish these things? And please don't take my talking about doing audits as being unimportant. Doing audits and doing them well is important, but let's be sure that it's being done in a value-added way, that when you finish, that people are saying, okay, that is going to help our organization be successful. So when I talked about being a guru or a go-to, this is something else to ask your quality department to think about, to reflect on. Are we a guru? Are we looked at as gurus, or are we looked at as go-tos? So how are you viewed in your organization? On the right-hand side is the cover from an ASQ Quality Progress magazine from 2010, when it talked about what they called the Guru Guide. So you can see pictures of, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Deming, with Crosby, Feigenbaum, Ishikawa, Duran, Schuhart. Okay, were those people gurus? They certainly were. They brought new, innovative thinking to the quality professional. But what I see a lot of times is quality professionals trying to fill the role of that guru as the expert. And they're so proud of their knowledge that people in the organization aren't real excited about working with them. So let me challenge you on this. How often do you use terms like these with audiences that don't know what they mean? I was in a meeting one time with a group of senior leaders, and a consultant that we had hired from the outside was introduced to them as a sensei. Okay, those of us in the quality world pretty much know what a lean sensei is. It's an expert. Or Gemba, the workplace. Even things like Six Sigma. There are a lot of people that are not in the quality function that when you use these expressions, and I'll use an expression that we use in the United States, is they roll their eyes, which means that they look at it and think, why is this person using these odd terms? Why don't they just tell us what it means? I'm an expert at lean. Or instead of saying, we're going out to Gemba, we're going out and we're going to walk through the workplace. Poka-yoke, we're going to mistake-proof something. But sometimes we as quality professionals kind of like these fancy words that set us apart in the quality function. But I'll tell you, the people in the marketing department, the CEO, the people in finance, they don't care about these titles. All they want to know is make it understandable to me so I can understand how you're going to help me. Now, are any of these bad concepts? No, they're great concepts. But just remember, we want to talk in the language of the function of the people that we're working with. We don't want to come in with our own quality language. Now, if any of you have heard me speak before, I put a great deal of emphasis on organizations moving from being compliance focused to excellence focused. And the circle on the left shows the organization that is is focused on compliance. And you know what? They may have a group of people in their quality department that's focused on what they might term as excellence. What I encourage organizations to do is think about becoming the organization that is focused on excellence, that everybody in the organization is focused on excellence. And I'm in no way saying compliance isn't important, but it is just the threshold of where you want to be. And excellence is that continuous journey. I believe strongly that moving from compliance to excellence can be a key role of the quality department, and especially quality leadership. When we talk about compliance versus excellence, compliance is like the threshold requirement. It's the regulatory requirements that an organization has to be in business. Quality required to be in the game, to be in business, to have your doors open. That's what a lot of quality departments have focused on in the past. Now, you see the line that's going up that recognizes the King Abdulaziz Quality Award, Baldrige, EFQM, PDSA, Six Sigma. None of those are initiatives that you can say, okay, we passed, we met requirements. You know, none of us can say that all of our processes are at Six Sigma level. None of us can say we have 100% with Baldrige or the King Abdulaziz Quality Award or EFQM. And this continuous improvement is where an organization makes progress towards competitive advantage and best-in-class performance. That's what your organization is aspiring to, and that's how you as quality professionals can help that organization move forward and become more successful as opposed to just meeting those quality requirements. Getting involved and understanding things like the King Abdulaziz Quality Award, you know, being an examiner or having that understanding is like getting that MBA look at a business and being able to provide that knowledge to your organization. Sorry about that. My mouse is a little jumpy. And here's another thing I'd like you to think about is there are all of these functional skills within an organization. Most organizations have an operations department. They have a supply chain department. They have marketing. They have human resources. They have finance. I encourage you to think of the role of quality as crossing all of those boundaries. So instead of your own silo over at the right, you have the ability as quality professionals to ensure quality improvement in the entire organization. I always like to think of the quality professional as being the consulting organization in the business that's going to help all of these areas succeed, all of these areas continue to evaluate and improve the way that they're doing things. And I'll go back to that idea of the King Abdulaziz Quality Award, the Baldrige criteria, EFQM, as being excellent tools for you as quality professionals to be experts in and to bring that knowledge to every function within your own organization. Now, I'm not going to go into this, but just what you want to do is find that intersection of quality and the world of business. And this, of course, is talking about the manufacturing 4.0 with some definitions under there of interoperability, information transparency, technical assistance, but just really saying that we want to be quality 4.0, which ASQ is doing a lot of research on, and you are all probably somewhat familiar with that. We want that quality 4.0 to align with manufacturing 4.0.
Excuse me, Paul. Now 30 minutes passed, and you have the rest of the night. Really, it's very interesting subject. Thank you very much.
Very good. So how do we get to the leadership table? In many organizations, I see a chief financial officer, a chief operating officer, the chief executive officer, but many times at that chief table, I don't see a chief quality officer. I do in some organizations, but here's some hints from me on how to get to that leadership table so that the role of a chief quality officer is recognized as providing great value to the organization. First of all, to be able to have a focus on the future, not just the past, not just the present, but be able to have that strategic look, to understand that strategic look, to be able to demonstrate the value add of the quality function. You know, what is the quality function able to do, and why should they be represented at that senior leadership table? Increase communication skills so that you're able to communicate that value. Be able to demonstrate knowledge of how quality is integrated into the overall organization system. And again, I'll go back to those management system models as a great way to bring value to that integrated management system. And don't be a roadblock. A lot of times, organizations view quality as the people who are keeping them from doing what they want to do. Be an enabler. Now, your role is to ensure quality systems are implemented and followed, but be sure that you are able to be an enabler of moving forward from the places where you might be perceived as a roadblock. And most of all, going back to what I talked about earlier, demonstrate that you understand that value equation. How does this organization make money, add customer value, and engage employees? And what can we as the quality function and me as a quality individual do to advance that value? So here's some discussion questions that I would suggest that you take back to your quality departments and visit with them about this. Number one, how do we as quality professionals prepare for this changing future? And I would certainly encourage you to take some of the concepts from this, even take the actual content and share it with others and say, how do we prepare for this changing future? How do we become those quality professionals that all these leaders have said we need to see? How do we as quality professionals demonstrate the value of our work to others? How can we quantify that value? How can we show that we participate in accomplishing that value proposition? And finally, what skills would a quality professional need to be able to be a CEO of an organization? And what keeps that from happening? Now, I'm not saying that every one of you should aspire to be a CEO. It's not what I've ever aspired to do. But what is it that keeps quality professionals from there? And what can you do to be so well recognized for the value you bring that potentially that could happen? I always close my presentations with this slide. This is a man named Vince Lombardi, and he was a coach back in the 1960s of an American football team called the Green Bay Packers. They were very successful, and he was looked at as a very good leader, coach of that organization. And he said, perfection is unattainable, but if we chase it, we can catch excellence. So as quality professionals, wouldn't we like it if everything was perfect in our organizations? We never had any scrap. We never had any return product. We never had any turnover of our good employees. We never had a customer complaint. The problem is that's never going to happen. But that's no reason to not work towards that goal. And I think this really sums up what kind of the motto of every quality professional should be, is that we're going to help this organization move towards perfection. And along the way, we will be recognized as helping them accomplish being an excellent organization. Okay, that's the end of my presentation. I do thank all of you for your commitment to quality, hopefully your commitment to performance excellence, and I'd be glad to take any questions now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Powell, for this very informative presentation. Yes, we have many questions addressed by the audience, and we'd like to thank all audience who attended this webinar. The first question from Dr. Arbas Walid, I hope I pronounced the name properly. How a quality management system can add value in healthcare sector, how QMS is in line with organizational strategic decision. It's not clear to me that WRT hospital and healthcare delivery setups. Dr. Arbaz from Rifa Healthcare Services, Islamabad, Pakistan. Thank you very much, Doctor. Is the question clear, Mr. Powell?
Yeah, and Dr. Abbas, thank you for that question. Here in the United States, one of the the primary user anymore of the Baldrige model is the healthcare industry, and the organizations that I see that are using a quality management system in healthcare are the ones that are the most successful. There are so many opportunities, and I'm kind of surprised that healthcare has not adopted more of a quality management system. Look at their organizations when we look at the medical errors, things like that. So I'm not sure how to answer it of how can they add value, but I will tell you, I truly think that a quality management system in healthcare is a good idea. I was just in judging process for the American Healthcare Association for the last 2 days. And one of the things that I did see is multiple of those organizations that have adopted quality management systems as a very effective tool for decreasing medical errors and increasing their value. I hope that answered it. It really is truly just saying it's a great tool that I think can help healthcare a lot.
Thank you. Another question from Mr. Muhammad Tajammul. He said, many audits nowadays are so flexible and organizations are supported by certification bodies. Is that gonna change in the future?
I think you're going to see audits changing from being just, a survey that, an audit that is just looking for the errors, the mistakes that an organization is making and giving you a list that says, here's what you're doing wrong. I think that audits are going to continue to evolve to being something that says, here's what your problems are, and here's why you need to fix these, and be very much focused on helping the organization resolve them rather than just finding them. I think what you're seeing is, for instance, with international standards organizations, you're seeing them focusing more on things like the King Abdulaziz Quality Award, Baldrige, and EFQM have focused on, of helping the organization get better as opposed to just auditing the key processes. They're looking at things like leadership. So I would see them continuing to be flexible and adding more value to the process.
Thank you very much. Zohaib Zafar said, hi, I am not in a quality field. I am in EHS, and Environment and Health and Safety field, but I really want to do my job as EHS professional with quality. Tell me, how can I add these in my field? This is from Pakistan also, this question. Thank you very much.
Zohaib, I thank you for that question, because you know what, I wish every employee of every organization could say, you know what, I want to do whatever my role is with quality. And I would even say, not just with quality, but with excellence. The way, what I would suggest is looking at those three questions of, you know, how do I impact the money that's made by my organization? Who are the customers that I serve, whether they are external customers or they are internal customers that you serve? And how do I, if I have people reporting to me, how do I engage people and get my whole EHS department or whatever focused on pleasing the customer, providing what the customer requires, and being sure that I'm adding value to the organization, either through the financial side or in some way ensuring that your EHS department is excellent in accomplishing what your role is. So again, I'd like to think that every employee thinks that what they need to do is find how to provide quality services and continue to get better and better as you aspire to excellence.
Thank you. Nimra Tanvir said, how quality can be applied in setups where there is no concept of it, how it can be improved in underdeveloped countries.
I would tell you that, again, I would be very focused on the customer and what customer requirements are. I would, every organization, whether they're in an underdeveloped country, a well-developed country, needs to do a little bit of self-understanding and understand where they aspire to be and where they are now. There are multiple African countries that I know of right now that are beginning to use, for instance, the African excellence model as something to say, okay, we're just getting started. What do we need to do to take those first steps? Don't, recognize that it is a journey. You have to get started in simple ways. So, probably the key is, if it's an organization in an undeveloped country, you have to engage the senior leaders and have them say, we aspire to be better than we are. And then just start working on what are the first steps to accomplish that. Many times it's something like with Baldrige, the organizational profile that says very simply, who are we? What do we do? Who are our customers? And then what's important to us? What are our strategic challenges to get your senior leadership team engaged in starting that quality journey?
Thank you very much. Another question is about the new trend, Q 4.0. Is there any additional future skills and competencies needed?
What I would suggest with that is do some research on Quality 4.0. You're going to see a lot of what I talked about in Quality 4.0, probably a little more technical than what I've talked about. But I think that the real key with Quality 4.0 is understanding where your organization fits with, if you're manufacturing, those concepts of manufacturing 4.0 and what you can do to support them. So I do encourage organizations to focus more on what their company needs, as opposed to just what Quality 4.0 says you need.
Great. Naif Al-Mutairi has this question. He said, thank you very much. Also, thank you too for you, Mr. Naif. How do we maintain quality in the organization?
You know what? That sounds like a simple question, but it's a great question because you see, I have seen many organizations that are very good that we call it take your eye off the ball. You don't keep focused on quality. I would say that the number one, two things that would be at the top of the list is keeping the senior leadership team engaged in maintaining quality. And yeah, I would say senior leadership engagement and continuing to keep a focus on results, and understanding what that relation is between processes and results. That's one of the great things about the King Abdulaziz Quality Award, those other management models, is that they are recognizing the link between what you do and what the results are.
Thank you. Rabab Farrash asked this question. Any tips from your experience to be enabler? Is it by focusing on employees and involve them?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. One of the keys is focusing on employees and involving them, engaging people in the improvement journey that you're on. You know, also being an enabler to me is, as an enabler, I want to give other people the credit for what has happened. A lot of times we as quality professionals, you know, we lead a black belt project and we get recognition at the end for a great project. The best leaders of those kind of projects are the ones that say, you know, it's the team that did it. So enabler really gets to, you are helping others accomplish the goals of the organization. And truly, that's one of those definitions of a good leader, is that they enable others to be successful for the organization.
One of your slides, you mentioned that the quality professional, let me read it also. The quality professional need to get out of the quality world and understand the business we are in. And you mentioned that, how do we make money? One of the questions also from Mr. Ahmed Al-Fahid, he's mentioning that it's very important, this note, but he would like to understand how can we get money for the governmental service agencies or entities.
Yeah, when I talked about making money, it's more of, it's not so much the government side or the nonprofit, but you know, with government, it's just very important to understand what is success for the government agency I work for. Understand what that success is. And so when you understand what success means to that organization, then that's what you ought to be working on to help with that. I'll give you an example. Our post office, the local post office for the town I work in, which, you know, where you send mail, where you get mail, they are so non-customer focused. And so there's always a long line, 20 to 30 minutes to mail a letter, to mail a package. And they do nothing to improve that. I always tell the funny story of, I walked in one time and they had a sign on the door that said service in 5 minutes or less. And I waited 20 minutes. And 2 weeks later, I waited 20 minutes and I said, why do you have that sign on the door that says service in 5 minutes or less if you're not going to change your process? And the next week they changed something. They took the sign down. So I then waited 20 minutes. So what that post office should do is understand what customer requirements are, what is successful to them, and their quality people should work on accomplishing that. So it's whatever is most important to the organization. For a for-profit organization, it's typically the finances, but it's whatever your senior leaders would say is most important, and your customers.
Actually, what you have said today remind me of what Mr. James Harrington mentioned when I met him in Jeddah. And he said that the most important customer is the shareholder. The quality professional should also work to satisfy the shareholder because they invest their money in the company. Really, thank you very much for this highlights, Mr. Powell. And another question is from Taysir Saif. He said, how the company provide the quality about information security system and save their data? Maybe another question also should be a little bit close to this one from Nu'man Arshad. He said, how much knowledge of artificial intelligence is necessary for quality professionals to better add value? So we're talking about information security and artificial intelligence and what the quality role can be there.
You know, in my presentation, the idea of artificial intelligence was more of here's what some of the changes are that are happening in business, not necessarily what you need to have skill as a quality professional. But if you do have experience in that, then that's something that that can certainly add value to an organization. What quality professionals many times can do is be the internal consultant who asks the good questions of leaders to help ensure that you're going to be successful at that. And I'm looking at my desk because, for instance, in the Baldrige criteria, there is a section about cybersecurity and information security. You know, how do you manage physical and digital data, information, and key operational systems to ensure confidentiality and only appropriate access? Okay, many times we as quality professionals, that's kind of the audit question, but it's finding what the characteristics are of high-performing organizations that are doing artificial intelligence, who are the departments that are managing cybersecurity, and being able to ask the right questions to be sure that they're addressing the right things in those roles. So again, you're like a performance improvement consultant as opposed to the expert in all these things.
Engineer Mohammed Bahamdan has this question: how can we change the organization culture from focusing on quality during the quality audit to make it everyday business?
You know, I would say that the best thing you can do is, as a quality professional who's doing those audits, is to be sure that they are the value added audits, that the report that you put together, again, isn't looking and saying, here's what you did wrong, but it's saying, here are your opportunities for improvement. Here's why it's important to be focused on those. And here's some ideas for how to move forward with that. Again, as opposed to just being the person who does the audit, it's the person who says, this is what our findings are, and this is what we can help you do to move forward to address these. So being the business partner as opposed to the auditor.
Farzana Khan asked this question: how can a person identify and enhance leadership skills in himself?
how to enhance their leadership skills?
Yes.
There are a lot of ways to do this, and I used to work for a man who was one of my Baldrige mentors, who said that the kind of person that you want to work for is the type of person who never sees themselves as a finished product. Now, by that he means that we all ought to be saying, what can we do to improve our quality management skills? What can we do to improve our leadership skills? Okay, it's everything from potentially taking an online leadership course. It's finding someone at a higher level in your organization that that might be a mentor to help you understand, leadership responsibilities in your organization. My daughter works for an organization where one of the she's new to the organization and relatively young. One of the leaders there asked her to be that person's mentor because she wanted to, the leader wanted to understand the younger generation. So there are lots, and it's even reading books about leadership. One of the best books on leadership that I've been recommending lately is one called True North by a man who I used to work for named Bill George. It's a great book on how to be an effective leader. So lots of ways to do it. You just really need to identify what your goals are as a leader, and then find those opportunities to learn about what skills you need to develop.
Great. Abdullah Al-Amri is asking, do quality standards affecting innovation or innovation culture in the organization?
Yes. I'm not sure how quality standards would affect it, but an innovation or an innovation culture is so important to an organization. What I found in any research that I've done is high-performing organizations are innovative organizations. Successful organizations over the long term, sustainable high performance tends to come from innovation, where you're staying ahead of your competitors, or exceed. If you're talking about a government agency, you're exceeding the expectations of the customers that you have. So, I believe that quality professionals can help drive that innovation. So I would say sometimes standards get in the way of innovation because people say, well, that's the way we have to do it. No, you're always, you have your standard for how to do it, but you're also looking for ways to improve that over time also. A good evaluation and improvement process is what you're looking for.
Okay. They have announcement, which is very important. So can you give me the share? Dr. Muhammad? Yeah, okay. Tomorrow is the 20th of May, which is the anniversary of signing the Meter Convention. And this is what is called the Metrology Day. And the most important issue in this year, that the poster was designed by SASU, the Saudi Standardization and the Quality Organization. The theme for this year is metrology for health. The event will start from tomorrow. Each organization, especially the Metrology Institute in each country, they participate in this ceremony. We, as the Saudi Quality Council, will conduct a session or forum on the 30th of May, considering the other events. Also, please, you can follow the World Meteorology Day website, where you can find different entities. They participate and post their events and their poster. And already the Quality Council already uploaded the poster for this event, with also SASU through the National Meteorology Institute in the Kingdom. I would like, on behalf of the Saudi Quality Council, to thank and appreciate the efforts exerted by SASU team to participate in the international event. If you can highlight this event, Mr. Powell, it would be highly appreciated.
Good. Thank you. Any other questions we want to go over?
Yes, yes. There's another, actually, we have many questions. How the company provide the quality about information security and safe data? We mentioned that one. Ammar is asking if you own, in your own words, how do you define the relationship between the quality function and organizational excellence?
I would say that the relationship is that many times people expect that any organizational excellence efforts are going to start in the quality function. And by saying that, I say that that's a real honor for the quality department. And the reason I say that is, remember my slide where I showed the quality function crossing all of the functions. That's where we have the ability to say, you know what, we're not just going to be the compliance people, we're going to be the excellence people, because we have the ability to touch every part of the organization, and we can lead that organizational excellence effort. And if some of you think, whoa, that kind of scares me, well, that's the reason that you want to lead into it. You want to engage senior leaders in the process, but it's one of the most exciting things you can do, because it's the thing that helps your organization with sustainability and other measures of success.
Thank you. Mustafa Sayed asked about how do quality professionals manage the change and overcome the obstacles in their organizations during this new normal situation. He mentioned that the situation after the COVID-19. Also, there is another question from similar one from Mr. Hamdan, and the role of IT and computer-based quality programs that are available to trigger any issues and business matter as an audit trail. So can you highlight these issues about the new norm and the involvement of the IT system?
Gosh, the new normal. You hear me stuttering on this because this is a really challenging question. You know, I would say that this is something that quality professionals who understand change management can provide it provides a great opportunity for you to elevate the quality department in your organization, because this new normal, we're still not sure exactly what it's going to look like. And I always talk about how with any of these management models, you know, Baldrige, King Abdulaziz, EFQM, you have to have a healthy comfort with ambiguity. And by ambiguity, it means, you know, we're not really sure what the end result is going to be. A lot of times we as quality professionals are very precise. You know, this is our process. This is the way it has to happen. This is the way it's going to happen every time. What we really have to do is be able to be comfortable with that change that moves on. So first of all, we have to be comfortable with the change to new normal, and then to raise our hand and say, we think we can help navigate this new normal for our entire organization. And a lot of times that's because we know how to take an old process, an old way of doing things, and convert it into a new process. That's one of those skills that we have that we ought to be able to help by saying, this is the old, this is the new, we're going to help navigate this. That's a high level response to a good question, but I hope it was of value.
Okay, at the end of the session, I'd like to thank you very much for your very high value and interesting presentation. We promise our colleagues that the presentation, the webinar, the PDF will be available on the website of the Saudi Quality Council. Also, we will announce through our Twitter account. Please remind that we have these channels, even we have group in the LinkedIn. You can share your thoughts, and also you will find our events will be posted there. The next event, as we mentioned, it's about the Metrology Day, and it will be in the 30th of May, not tomorrow, but actually the World Metrology Day is tomorrow, and it's about metrology for healthcare. At the end of the session, thank you very much for my my colleagues, the SQC team who participated and support us in this event. We wish you good night, Mr. Pao, and we'll see you inshallah in next sessions.
Thank you.
Thank you.